Imagine this for a moment. You're living in the 1st century, you're part of a small Christian congregation, and one day, something incredible happens. A letter arrives. Not just any letter, a letter from the Apostle Paul. Everyone gathers. The room is quiet. You listen carefully as it's being read out loud. And as you listen, you notice something. Paul keeps referring to the holy writings. You hear phrases like, "just as it is written," or "just as Isaiah foretold." And in your mind, you think, "I wish I could see exactly where that is written." But here's the problem. That wouldn't have been easy. Not at all. Because the Bible you know today is not the Bible they had back then. No chapters, no verses, no punctuation. Just text. Solid blocks of text. Imagine opening a scroll of Isaiah. No verse numbers, no chapter headings, no commas, no periods. Just line after line after line. It looked nothing like the Bible you're used to today. And suddenly, you realize something? Finding a specific passage. That would have been incredibly difficult. You see, Bible writers didn't divide their message into chapters or verses. They simply wrote down the message God gave them. That's it. The whole message, not broken, not divided, not separated. And honestly, that makes sense. Think about it. If someone you love writes you an important letter, do you read just one paragraph, or do you read the whole thing? Of course, you read the whole letter, because you want to understand the full message. And that's exactly how the Bible was originally meant to be read, as a complete message. But there was a problem. As Christianity grew, more writings were collected. By the end of the 1st century, what we now call the Holy Writings was no longer just one scroll. It was a collection, 66 separate books. And now, imagine trying to find one specific quote in all of that, without chapters, without verses. Paul could only say things like, "just as it is written." But unless you knew the scriptures extremely well, finding that exact place, very hard. So people started to feel the need for something, a way to organize the text, a way to find things faster. But before we answer the question, who added chapters and verses? We need to go a little deeper, back to the manuscripts themselves, because discoveries over time have changed how we understand the Bible's history. Manuscripts like the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Cairo Geniza, the Nag Hammadi discoveries. These findings completely transformed our understanding. Scholars began to see something important. The Bible didn't exist as just one fixed form early on. There were multiple versions, multiple traditions, texts in different languages: Greek, Hebrew, Latin, Coptic, Armenian, and Ethiopic. The message was spreading everywhere, and something else became clear. Each biblical book had its own history. Before the Bible was fully collected, even after it was collected, each book went through its own journey, copied, translated, shared. And because of that, scholars today don't just study one original text. They study the entire history of the text, how it was copied, how it was passed down, how it changed over time. But here's the challenge. All of this research became fragmented. Different scholars focus on different languages. Some study Hebrew, others Greek, others rare translations. And not everyone can access all the information, so even today, understanding the full picture takes effort. Now, let's come back to our main question. Who added the chapters? The person most credited with adding chapters to the Bible was a man named Stephen Langton, an English cleric. Later, he became the Archbishop of Canterbury. But before that, he was a teacher at the University of Paris. This was in the early 13th century. Now, before Langton, people had already tried to divide the Bible. But there was a problem. Everyone was using different systems, different divisions, different structures. For example, one version of the Gospel of Mark had almost 50 chapters. Today, we only have 16. So imagine this situation. Students from different countries, all bringing their own Bibles, trying to follow a lecture, but the references don't match. Confusing, right? So Langton did something important. He created a new system of chapter divisions, one consistent system, and something amazing happened. People liked it. It made sense. It was practical, so it spread quickly across Europe, and eventually, it became the standard. The same chapter divisions we still use today, but what about verses? Who added those? About 300 years later, in the 16th century, another man named Robert Estienne, a French printer and scholar, took things further. He wanted to make Bible study easier, more accessible, more organized. Now, dividing text into verses wasn't entirely new. Jewish scholars had already divided the Hebrew scriptures into verses. But again, there was no universal system. So Estienne created one. He took the New Testament, divided it into numbered verses, and combined it with the Old Testament system. In 1553, he published a complete Bible in French, with chapters and verses, very similar to what we use today. Not everyone liked it at first. Some people said, "This breaks the Bible into fragments. It feels disconnected." But over time, people saw the benefit, because suddenly every verse had an address, like a postal code. You could find anything quickly. You could share a verse easily. You could study more effectively. But here's something very important to remember. Chapters and verses were not inspired by God. They were added by humans, helpful tools. Yes, but still, tools. And sometimes, they divide the text in strange places. They can break the natural flow, which means, if we're not careful, we might focus too much on one verse and miss the bigger message. So here's the takeaway. Use chapters and verses. They are helpful, they make study easier, but don't stop there. Read the context, read the full message, because the Bible was meant to be understood as a whole, not just in pieces. And the more you do that, the more familiar you become with what Paul called the holy writings, which are able to make you wise. If this made you see the Bible differently, let me know in the comments. And if you want more deep stories like this, hit subscribe, because there's a lot more history behind the Bible that most people have never heard.